This time, we had come here with so much of expectation, especially the way COP29 was touted as a finance COP. And the expectation was that we will get some decision, some ambitious target and commitment on finance. But as of today, we have not yet seen any real and clear outcome on that. And that's worrying because if we do not get this sorted very quickly, then it's going to hold up a whole range of other negotiations that are happening right now, especially those focused on mitigation.
After decades of empty mitigation and climate finance promises, emissions have more than doubled, and we are on a pathway to assassinate half of all living creatures on Earth. Now, here we are, on Thursday afternoon of the second week of COP, facing one of the weakest texts on mitigation we've ever seen. This is absurd and this is unacceptable. Panama would like to emphasize that mitigation is not just about adopting renewable energies or improving energy efficiency. It is fundamentally about phasing out fossil fuels. It is troubling to witness both utter silence and outright resistance on this critical issue. And to make matters even worse, after 3 years of negotiations on the new finance goal, countless workshops and dialogues in remote places, our developed colleagues have yet to put forward a quantified proposal for us to negotiate.
In fact, this time, finance and mitigation, these are the two planks on which the COP29 conversation is happening. But if you look at the negotiations on the mitigation work program, where the global north is trying to push the global south to take on a lot more ambition, commit to targets, and we have already seen how polarized that conversation is, that because global south is fearful and worried that even before the global north has made any clear commitment on enabling finance, they are trying to impose top-down targets, top-down commitments, prescription, punitive action on the global south. And that has really derailed that conversation, and we are still waiting to see how that is going to happen.
President, less than 48 hours before finishing, the critical objective of this COP is right now an empty placeholder.
Quite frankly, this lack of commitment, transparency, feels like a slap in the face to the most vulnerable. It is just utter disrespect to those countries that are bearing the brunt of this crisis.
Also, the simultaneous track where they're discussing the new features for the nationally determined contribution, the NDCs, that most of the countries will finalize by next year. And there is an expectation that if finance is on table, that maybe the global south will be able to consider ramping up their ambition when they do their nationally determined contribution.
Firstly, we will not allow a renegotiation of the Paris Agreement. Secondly, we must ramp up mitigation ambition. The current weak language of mitigation is a death sentence to Panama, our people, and other vulnerable countries. Thirdly, developed countries must stop playing games with our life and put a serious, quantified financial proposal on the table.
That certainly means that the decision on finance is absolutely critical. And in that context, the one point that I would really like to highlight in terms of mitigation, and where I am here for, and I have been pursuing this very closely, that for the first time in the COP negotiation, we are seeing urban emission emerging as a big agenda. In fact, traditionally, the focus has been on energy transition, your tripling of renewable energy, doubling of energy efficiency, moving away from fossil fuel, the broad multi-sectoral approaches. But the mitigation work program this time has a very focused and a detailed strategy focusing on how to deal with urban emissions, and rightly so, because urban emissions are 70% of the global emissions. Now, if we do not address that, then we will be in trouble. But the point is that once the big finance is worked out, then the next challenge will be that the urban agenda, which is a hugely subnational, very contextual, that varies across national circumstances, will require a more bottom-up approach for defining the strategies for implementation, which will then has to inform the global framework for financing and the urban finance. Now, if we do not do that very quickly, then a big chunk of the greenhouse gas emissions, 70%, will remain unattended. And this is needed, one, for the deep urban decarbonization in the global north and the emission avoidance in the global south, who are yet to invest in their new urban infrastructure. Therefore, the decision must happen on finance in this COP this time right away.